The siren wailed, sharp and unrelenting, slicing through the quiet of the Tennessee evening like a blade. Ellie Harper gripped the steering wheel of her beat-up Ford pickup, her heart slamming against her ribs as the red and blue lights flashed in her rearview mirror. She hadn't done anything wrong. Not really, but the sight of a cop car always made her feel like she was carrying contraband. She pulled over onto the gravel shoulder of Route 70, the tires crunching against the earth. The sun had just dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of bruised purple and burnt orange. Ellie's hands trembled as she turned off the engine, her mind racing through every possible infraction. Speeding? No, she'd been careful. Tail light out? Maybe. Or was this about the protest she'd attended last week in Nashville, where she'd waved a rainbow flag and shouted for equality until her throat burned? The officer's boots crunched on the gravel as she approached. Ellie glanced in the side mirror, expecting a stern, grizzled man, but instead saw a woman, young, maybe mid-20s, with dark hair pulled into a tight bun under her police cap. Her uniform was crisp, the badge glinting under the fading light, but her face was softer than Ellie expected, with eyes that held something unreadable. "Evening, ma'am," the officer said, her voice steady but not cold. "Do you know why I pulled you over?" Ellie swallowed, her throat dry. "No, officer?" She squinted at the name tag. "S. Delgado. I wasn't speeding, was I?" The officer, S. Delgado, tilted her head slightly, her lips twitching into something that wasn't quite a smile. "Your taillight's out. Left side. It's a safety hazard." Ellie exhaled, relief mixing with embarrassment. "Oh, shit, sorry, shoot. I didn't know. I'll get it fixed tomorrow." Delgado nodded, but she didn't reach for her ticket book. Instead, she leaned closer to the window, her gaze lingering on Ellie's face. "You're not from around here, are you?" Ellie frowned, caught off guard. "I live in Clarksville, about 30 minutes away." "Why?" "Just curious," Delgado said, her tone softer now, almost conversational. "You look like you're running from something." Ellie's stomach twisted. She wasn't running, not exactly, but she'd been restless ever since she moved to Tennessee 2 years ago. A queer artist in a small southern town didn't exactly scream fitting in. She'd left Chicago after a messy breakup with her ex, Tara, hoping to find herself in the quiet of Clarksville. Instead, she'd found loneliness, and a community that didn't always welcome her rainbow bumper sticker. "I'm not running," Ellie said, her voice sharper than intended. "Just driving home." Delgado's eyes flicked to the sticker on the back of Ellie's truck, a small rainbow flag with the words "Love Wins" scrawled across it. She didn't comment, but her expression shifted, like she was piecing together a puzzle. "Mind stepping out of the vehicle for a moment?" Ellie's heart rate spiked again. "Why? It's just a taillight, right?" "It is," Delgado said, stepping back. "But I'd like to talk. Off the record." "Off the record?" Ellie's mind screamed warnings, but something in the officer's voice, calm, almost gentle, made her comply. She opened the door and stepped out, her sneakers hitting the gravel. At 25, Ellie was petite but wiry, her short brown hair falling in messy waves around her ears. She shoved her hands into the pockets of her leather jacket, trying to look nonchalant. Delgado leaned against the side of Ellie's truck, her posture relaxed but her eyes sharp. "I saw you at the protest last week," she said, her voice low, like she was sharing a secret. "In Nashville. You were loud." Ellie's breath caught. "You were there." "Not on duty," Delgado said quickly. "I was just passing through." The words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken meaning. Ellie studied the officer, her high cheekbones, the faint freckles across her nose, the way her lips pressed together like she was holding back something bigger. Was she? "I'm Sophia," the officer said suddenly, extending a hand. "Sophia Delgado." Ellie hesitated, then shook her hand. Sophia's grip was firm, her skin warm despite the cool evening air. "Ellie Harper." Sophia's lips curved into a real smile this time, small but genuine. "Ellie. Nice name. You always drive around with a broken taillight." "Ellie? Only when I want to get pulled over by charming cops." Ellie shot back before she could stop herself. Her cheeks flushed. What the hell was that? Flirting with a police officer was not on her bingo card for the night. Sophia laughed. A soft, surprising sound that made Ellie's stomach flip. Charming, huh? I'll take it. For a moment, they stood there, the tension between them crackling like static. Ellie's mind raced. Was Sophia just being friendly? Or was there something more? And why hadn't she written a ticket yet? Look, Sophia said, her voice dropping lower. I'm not going to ticket you, but you need to get that tail light fixed. And maybe be careful around here. Clarksville's not always kind to people like us. People like us. The words hit Ellie like a freight train. Her mouth went dry, and she searched Sophia's face for confirmation. Was she saying what Ellie thought she was saying? Before Ellie could respond, Sophia straightened, her professional mask slipping back into place. Drive safe, Ellie Harper. I'll be seeing you. She turned and walked back to her patrol car, leaving Ellie standing on the side of the road, her heart pounding and her mind spinning. As the patrol car's lights faded into the distance, Ellie climbed back into her truck, her hands shaking for an entirely different reason now. She didn't know it yet, but that moment, that fleeting electric encounter, was the spark that would set her world ablaze. Ellie drove home in a daze, the memory of Sophia's smile burning in her mind. By the time she pulled into the driveway of her small rental house, the stars were out, glittering above the quiet Clarksville neighborhood. She sat in her truck for a long moment, replaying every word, every glance. People like us. Was Sophia out? Was she flirting? Or was Ellie reading too much into a 5-minute conversation? Inside, she dropped her keys on the kitchen counter and opened her laptop, her fingers itching to paint. Art had always been her outlet, her way of making sense of the chaos in her head. She pulled up her digital art program and started sketching. A woman in a police uniform, her eyes soft but fierce, standing under a street lamp. The lines flowed effortlessly, each stroke capturing the strange, magnetic pull she'd felt on that gravel shoulder. Ellie didn't sleep much that night. She kept thinking about Sophia, about the protest, about what it meant to be queer in a place like Clarksville. She'd moved here to escape the noise of Chicago, but she hadn't anticipated how isolating it would be. The local art scene was small, and while she'd made a few friends, none of them were queer. She missed the vibrant LGBTQ community she'd left behind, the late-night coffee shops and drag shows, the feeling of belonging. The next morning, she drove to the auto shop to get her taillight fixed. The mechanic, a gruff older man named Joe, gave her a curious look when he saw the rainbow sticker on her truck. "You one of them activists?" he asked, not unkindly. Ellie shrugged, forcing a smile. "Just someone who believes in love." Joe grunted and got to work. As she waited, Ellie's phone buzzed with a text from her friend Maya, a fellow artist she'd met at a local gallery. "Heard you got pulled over last night, Bill." Ellie groaned. Small towns and their gossip. She texted back a vague reply, not ready to unpack the encounter with Sophia. But as she sat in the waiting room, flipping through a car magazine she wasn't reading, she couldn't shake the feeling that something big was coming. Something that would upend her quiet, lonely life. That afternoon, she went to the local coffee shop, the Beanery, to work on her latest commission, a mural design for a community center. The shop was cozy, with exposed brick walls and mismatched furniture, and it was one of the few places in Clarksville where Ellie felt at ease. She was halfway through a sketch when the bell above the door jingled, and Sophia Delgado walked in. Ellie's pencil froze mid-stroke. Sophia wasn't in uniform this time. She wore a fitted black sweater and jeans, her hair loose and cascading over her shoulders. She looked different, less like a cop, more like someone Ellie could imagine sharing a drink with. Sophia scanned the room, her eyes landing on Ellie. For a split second, her expression softened, and then she smiled. A slow, deliberate smile that made Ellie's heart stutter. She walked over, her movements confident but not rushed. "Mind if I join you?" Sophia asked, gesturing to the empty chair across from Ellie. Ellie blinked, caught off guard. Sure. Yeah. Go for it." Sophia sat, setting her coffee cup on the table. "Didn't expect to see you here," she said, though her tone suggested otherwise. "Likewise," Ellie said, trying to sound casual. "No uniform today?" "Day off," Sophia replied, "though I'm starting to think Clarksville's too small for days off. I keep running into you." Ellie laughed, a nervous edge to it. "Yeah, well, it's not exactly Chicago." "You're from Chicago?" Sophia's eyes lit up with interest. "What brought you here?" Ellie hesitated. The truth, running from a broken heart, chasing a fresh start, was too raw to share with a near stranger. "Needed a change," she said instead. "What about you? You don't sound like you're from Tennessee." Sophia's smile faded slightly. "I'm not. Grew up in Miami. Moved here a year ago for the job." "Miami to Clarksville?" Ellie raised an eyebrow. "That's a downgrade." Sophia laughed, but there was a hint of something else in it, regret maybe. "It's complicated. Let's just say I needed a change too." They talked for over an hour, the conversation flowing effortlessly from music to movies to the quirks of small-town life. Ellie learned that Sophia was 27, loved classic rock, and had a secret passion for photography. Sophia learned that Ellie was an artist, fiercely independent, and terrible at cooking. The more they talked, the more Ellie felt that pull again, that undeniable spark. But there was a shadow too. Sophia was guarded, her answers careful when the conversation veered too close to her personal life. Ellie couldn't tell if it was caution or something deeper, but it made her want to know more, to peel back the layers. As Sophia stood to leave, she paused, her hand resting on the back of the chair. "You should come to the community center next weekend," she said. "They're hosting an open mic night. I'll be there. Not on duty." Ellie's heart skipped. Was this an invitation? "Maybe I will," she said, her voice steady despite the butterflies in her stomach. Sophia's smile was the last thing Ellie saw before she walked out the door, and it stayed with her long after the bells stopped jingling. Ellie spent the next week in a haze of anticipation. The memory of Sophia's smile, the way her voice softened when she said "people like us," lingered like a song stuck in her head. She threw herself into her mural design, hoping the work would distract her, but every brushstroke seemed to carry Sophia's face. Those sharp, searching eyes, the curve of her lips. The community center's open mic night was held in a converted warehouse on the edge of Clarksville, its brick walls draped with fairy lights and local art. Ellie arrived early, her sketchbook tucked under her arm, her nerves buzzing like live wires. She wore her favorite flannel shirt, sleeves rolled up, and her hair was freshly tousled, a deliberate kind of messy. She told herself she wasn't trying to impress anyone, but the mirror in her hallway had seen her change outfits 3 times. The room was already filling up when she spotted Sophia near the stage, talking to a group of teenagers holding guitars. She was in civilian clothes again, a denim jacket over a white tee, her hair loose and catching the light. Ellie's breath hitched. Sophia looked like she belonged here, not in a patrol car, not behind a badge. As if sensing her gaze, Sophia turned, her eyes locking onto Ellie's. She excused herself from the teens and walked over, her stride confident but unhurried. "You made it," she said, her voice warm. "Couldn't miss it?" Ellie replied, hoping her smile didn't betray how fast her heart was beating. "You perform or something?" Sophia laughed, shaking her head. "God, no. I'm just here to support. I help out with the youth program sometimes. Keeps me sane." Ellie raised an eyebrow. "Didn't peg you for the community service type." "There's a lot you don't know about me," Sophia said, her tone teasing but her eyes serious. "You signing up for the open mic? I bet you've got some poetry in that sketchbook of yours." Ellie clutched her sketchbook tighter. "Not a chance. I'm more of a visual person." "Shame," Sophia said, leaning closer. "I'd love to hear what's going on in that head of yours." The air between them crackled again, and Ellie felt her face heat up. Before she could respond, the first performer took the stage. A lanky kid with a guitar who launched into a soulful cover of Tracy Chapman. The crowd settled, and Ellie and Sophia found seats near the back, their shoulders brushing as they sat. The night unfolded in a blur of music and poetry. Some heartfelt, some awkward, all raw. Ellie stole glances at Sophia, watching the way her face lit up when a shy teenager nailed a spoken-word piece about identity. She wondered what Sophia's story was. What had brought her from Miami to this small town? What made her eyes flicker with something unspoken? After the performances, the crowd spilled into the courtyard for drinks and conversation. Ellie and Sophia ended up by a fire pit, the flames casting shadows across their faces. The air was cool, carrying the scent of wood smoke and autumn leaves. "So," Ellie said, sipping her soda, "you gonna tell me why you moved to Clarksville? Or is that classified information?" Sophia's smile faded slightly, her fingers tightening around her cup. "It's not classified, just messy." "Messy's my specialty," Ellie said, trying to keep her tone light. "Try me." Sophia hesitated, her gaze fixed on the fire. "I left Miami because I needed to start over. My family, they're traditional, Catholic. They didn't take it well when I came out." Ellie's heart sank. She knew that story too well. Her own parents hadn't spoken to her in years, not since she told them she was a lesbian. "I'm sorry," she said softly. "That's rough." Sophia shrugged, but the gesture was forced. "It is what it is. I got tired of hiding, so I left. Took a job here because it was far away and quiet. Thought I could just be." "And can you?" Ellie asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Sophia met her eyes, and for a moment the world fell away. "Sometimes, nights like this help." Ellie wanted to ask more, to reach out and bridge the gap between them, but a voice interrupted. A loud, slurred voice from across the courtyard. "Well, look at this. Clarksville's finest hanging out with the Rainbow Brigade." Ellie's stomach dropped. A group of guys, probably in their early 20s, stood near the edge of the courtyard, beers in hand. The one who'd spoken was tall, with a buzz cut and a smirk that made Ellie's skin crawl. Sophia's posture stiffened, her cop instincts kicking in. "Ignore them," she murmured to Ellie. But the guy wasn't done. "What's the deal, officer? You switching sides now?" Ellie's fists clenched. She'd dealt with guys like this before, small-town bullies who thought they owned the place. "Hey, asshole," she called, standing up. "Mind your own business." The guy laughed, stepping closer. "Oh, the artist's got a mouth. You gonna paint me a picture, sweetheart?" Sophia was on her feet in an instant, placing herself between Ellie and the guy. "Back off," she said, her voice low and dangerous. "Now." The guy hesitated, clearly sizing her up. The badge wasn't on her chest tonight, but her authority was undeniable. After a tense moment, he muttered something under his breath and walked away, his friends following. Ellie let out a shaky breath. "Thanks," she said, her voice quieter than she meant it to be. Sophia turned to her, her expression a mix of anger and concern. "You okay?" "Yeah," Ellie said, though her hands were still trembling. "Just not used to having a cop in my corner." Sophia's lips twitched into a small smile. "Get used to it." They didn't talk about the incident for the rest of the night, but something had shifted. The air between them felt heavier, charged with a new kind of intimacy. When Sophia offered to walk Ellie to her truck, Ellie didn't hesitate to say yes. The parking lot was quiet, the stars bright overhead. As they reached Ellie's truck, Sophia paused, her hands in her pockets. "Your trouble, Ellie Harper," she said, but there was no judgment in her voice, only warmth. "Takes one to know one," Ellie replied, her heart pounding. She wanted to say more, to ask Sophia out, to see where the spark could lead, but the words stuck in her throat. Sophia's phone buzzed, breaking the moment. She glanced at it, her expression tightening. "I gotta go," she said. "Work stuff." "On your day off?" Ellie asked, raising an eyebrow. Sophia sighed. "Yeah, small-town cop life. Never really off." She started to walk away, then turned back. "Hey, Ellie? Be careful, okay? And maybe I'll see you at the beanery again." Ellie grinned, her chest light despite the earlier tension. "Count on it." As Sophia disappeared into the night, Ellie leaned against her truck, her mind racing. She didn't know what was happening between them, but she knew one thing for sure. She wasn't letting Sofia Delgado slip away. Ellie couldn't stop thinking about Sofia. The open mic night had left her reeling. The memory of Sofia's protective stance against those drunk idiots playing on a loop in her mind. By Monday, she was back at the beanery, sketching furiously, her coffee growing cold as she tried to capture the fire in Sofia's eyes. She didn't expect Sofia to show up again. Not really. But when the bell jingled and Sofia walked in, Ellie's heart did a somersault. This time, Sofia was in uniform, her badge gleaming under the coffee shop's warm lights. She looked tired, her eyes shadowed, but she smiled when she saw Ellie. "Stalking me now?" Ellie teased, closing her sketchbook. Sofia slid into the seat across from her. "Just needed coffee." "Long shift." Ellie tilted her head, studying her. "You look like you haven't slept in a week." "Thanks for the flattery," Sofia said dryly, but her smile softened the words. "It's been hectic. Small town, big problems." "Want to talk about it?" Ellie asked, surprised by her own boldness. Sofia hesitated, her fingers tracing the rim of her coffee cup. "Not much to say. Just the usual bar fights, petty theft, people who don't like cops. Or people like me." Ellie's chest tightened. "Because you're a cop? Or because you're—" Sofia's eyes flicked up, sharp and searching. "Both," she said quietly. "Being a queer cop in Clarksville isn't exactly a walk in the park." Ellie leaned forward, her voice low. "You don't have to hide it with me, you know? I get it." Sofia's expression softened, but there was a guarded edge to it. "I know, but it's not that simple. This town, it's got eyes everywhere. And I've got a job to do." Ellie wanted to push, to ask what Sofia was so afraid of, but she held back. Instead, she slid her sketchbook across the table. "Here, made something for you." Sofia's eyebrows shot up as she opened the book. The sketch was of her, standing by the fire pit at the open mic night, her face illuminated by the flames. The lines were soft but deliberate, capturing her strength and vulnerability in equal measure. "Ellie," Sofia said, her voice barely above a whisper. "This is incredible." Ellie shrugged, her cheeks flushing. "Just a doodle." "It's not just a doodle," Sofia said, her eyes meeting Ellie's. "You see people. Really see them." The moment stretched, heavy with unspoken words. Ellie wanted to lean across the table, to close the distance between them, but the coffee shop was too public, too full of prying eyes. Instead, she said, "Come to my place sometime. I'll show you the rest of my work." Sofia's lips parted, like she was about to say something, but her radio crackled, breaking the spell. "Delgado, you copy?" a gruff voice said. Sofia sighed, grabbing the radio. "Yeah, I copy. What's up?" "Disturbance at the community center. Need you there now." Sofia's jaw tightened. "On my way." She stood, giving Ellie an apologetic look. "Duty calls, but I'll take you up on that offer. Soon." Ellie watched her go, her heart a tangled mess of hope and frustration. She didn't know what this was, friendship, flirtation, or something more, but she knew she was in deep. That night, Ellie couldn't sleep. She painted instead, her canvas filling with bold strokes of color, reds and blues, like the lights of Sofia's patrol car. She was falling for someone she barely knew, someone who wore a badge and carried a past she hadn't shared. It was reckless, maybe even dangerous, but Ellie had never been good at playing it safe. The next day, she got a text from an unknown number. "Hey, it's Sofia. Got your number from Maya. Hope that's okay." Ellie's heart leapt. Maya, that traitor, must have been playing matchmaker. She texted back, "Totally okay. You free tonight?" The reply came quickly. "Not tonight. Work. But tomorrow? Your place?" Ellie grinned, typing back, "Deal. Bring your art critic hat." The next evening, Sofia showed up at Ellie's small rental house, a bottle of wine in hand. She was out of uniform, her hair loose, and Ellie couldn't stop staring. They sat on the living room floor, surrounded by Ellie's canvases, the wine loosening their tongues. Sophia talked about her childhood in Miami, the pressure of being the good daughter, the pain of her family's rejection. Ellie shared her own story, her ex, Tara, who'd broken her heart, her parents, who'd called her a sin, her art, which kept her sane. As the night wore on, the space between them shrank. Sophia's hand brushed Ellie's as she reached for her glass, and neither of them pulled away. "You're dangerous," Sophia murmured, her voice low. "Says the cop." Ellie shot back, but her breath hitched. Sophia's eyes darkened, and for a moment, Ellie thought she might kiss her. But then Sophia's phone buzzed, and the moment shattered. She glanced at the screen, her expression hardening. "I have to go," she said, standing abruptly. "Everything okay?" Ellie asked, her stomach sinking. Sophia hesitated, then shook her head. "Just work. I'll call you." But she didn't call. Not that night, not the next day. Ellie tried not to overthink it, but by the third day of silence, doubt crept in. Had she misread the signs? Was Sophia pulling back? On the fourth day, Ellie saw Sophia's patrol car parked outside the beanery. She marched inside, ready to demand answers, but stopped short when she saw Sophia at a corner table, her head in her hands. She looked exhausted, her uniform rumpled, her eyes red. "Sophia," Ellie said softly, approaching. Sophia looked up, startled. "Ellie, hey, you okay?" Ellie asked, sliding into the seat across from her. Sophia sighed, running a hand through her hair. "Not really. There was an incident at the community center. Vandalism. Homophobic slurs spray-painted on the walls." Ellie's blood ran cold. "What?" "Yeah," Sophia said, her voice tight. "And I found out one of the guys from the open mic night might be involved. The same ones who hassled us." Ellie's fists clenched. "Those assholes." Sophia nodded, but her expression was conflicted. "I'm supposed to stay neutral, you know? But it's personal." Ellie reached across the table, her hand covering Sophia's. "It's okay to feel something. You're human." Sophia looked at their joined hands, her eyes softening. "You make it hard to stay professional, Ellie Harper." Ellie grinned, despite the heaviness. "Good." They sat in silence for a moment, the weight of the world pressing down on them. Ellie didn't know what was coming, but she knew one thing. She wasn't letting Sophia face it alone. Ellie couldn't shake the image of Sophia's tired eyes, the way her shoulders slumped under the weight of her badge. The vandalism at the community center had hit them both hard, but for Sophia, it was more than just a crime. It was a reminder of the world she navigated every day. A world where she had to be both a cop and a queer woman. Two identities that didn't always fit together. Ellie spent the next few days throwing herself into her mural project, hoping the bold colors and sweeping lines would drown out her worry. The community center had asked her to paint over the hateful graffiti with something vibrant, something that screamed hope. She worked late into the night, her hands stained with paint, her mind racing with thoughts of Sophia. On Friday, Sophia texted, "Can I see you? Need a break from this shit show." Ellie's heart leapt. She replied, "My place. 7 p.m. I'll cook." She regretted the cooking part immediately. She was a disaster in the kitchen. But she wanted to do something for Sophia, something normal. She settled on pasta, figuring she couldn't screw it up too badly, and spent the afternoon cleaning her tiny house, her nerves buzzing. When Sophia arrived, she looked different. Less guarded, more vulnerable. She wore a soft gray sweater and jeans, her hair loose, and she carried a small camera bag slung over her shoulder. "Brought my hobby," she said, holding up the bag with a shy smile. "Thought I might take some shots of your art." Ellie grinned, her nerves easing. "Only if I get to see yours too." They ate dinner on the living room floor, the pasta slightly overcooked but edible. Sophia laughed when Ellie admitted she'd Googled how to boil pasta. And the sound was like music. They talked about everything and nothing. Sophia's love for black and white photography, Ellie's obsession with abstract art, the way Clarksville felt both suffocating and comforting. After dinner, Sophia pulled out her camera and started snapping photos of Ellie's canvases. "These are incredible," she said, her voice full of awe. You've got a gift, Ellie. Ellie blushed, watching Sophia move around the room, her movements graceful and focused. Show me yours, she said, nodding at the camera. Sophia hesitated, then handed Ellie a small portfolio of prints from her bag. The photos were stunning. Gritty street scenes from Miami, soft portraits of strangers, a series of abandoned buildings bathed in golden light. These are wow, Ellie said, her voice catching. You're good, Sophia. Sophia shrugged, but her eyes were bright. It's just a hobby. Keeps me sane. They sat closer now, their knees brushing as they flipped through the photos. Ellie felt the air shift, the tension from their earlier encounters returning, stronger this time. She set the photos down and looked at Sophia, her heart pounding. Why didn't you call? She asked, the question spilling out before she could stop it. After the other night, I thought. Sophia's expression softened, but there was pain in her eyes. I wanted to, but this job, it's complicated. I'm supposed to be impartial, you know? And getting close to you, it feels like crossing a line. Ellie's chest tightened. What kind of line? Sophia looked away, her jaw tight. The kind where I could lose everything. My job, my reputation, I've worked so hard to get here. Ellie. To prove I belong. Ellie reached for her hand, her fingers curling around Sophia's. You don't have to prove anything to me. Sophia's eyes met hers, and for a moment, the world stopped. Then, slowly, Sophia leaned in, her lips brushing Ellie's in a kiss that was soft, tentative, electric. Ellie's heart exploded, her hands finding Sophia's face, pulling her closer. The kiss deepened, hungry and desperate, years of loneliness pouring out in a single moment. When they pulled back, breathless, Sophia's eyes were wide, like she couldn't believe what she'd done. Ellie, don't, Ellie said, her voice firm. Don't say you're sorry. Don't say it was a mistake. Sophia swallowed, her hands trembling. It's not a mistake. It's just dangerous. Then we'll be dangerous together, Ellie said, her voice fierce. Sophia laughed, a shaky, beautiful sound. You're gonna get me in trouble. Good, Ellie said, kissing her again. The next week was a blur of stolen moments. Late-night texts, quick coffee dates, a quiet hike in the nearby state park where they held hands under the cover of trees. But the shadow of the vandalism lingered. Sophia was working overtime, investigating the incident, and Ellie could see the toll it was taking. She wanted to help, to do something, but she didn't know how. One afternoon, while working on the mural, Ellie overheard two teenagers at the community center whispering about the vandalism. It was those guys from the bar, one said. They've been bragging about it. Ellie's blood ran cold. She texted Sophia immediately, relaying what she'd heard. Within hours, Sophia was at the center, her face grim as she interviewed the teens. Ellie watched from a distance, her heart swelling with pride but also fear. Sophia was good at her job, but being good didn't always mean being safe. That night, Sophia came to Ellie's house, her uniform still on, her eyes heavy with exhaustion. We got a lead, she said, sinking onto the couch. Those guys, they're part of a bigger group. They've been targeting queer-friendly spaces around town. Ellie sat beside her, her hand resting on Sophia's knee. You're gonna get them, right? Sophia nodded, but her expression was troubled. I want to, but it's not just about catching them. It's about what happens after. The backlash. The department, they're not all on my side. Ellie's stomach twisted. What do you mean? Sophia sighed, running a hand through her hair. Some of the other cops, they're not exactly progressive. If they find out about me, about us, it could make things harder. Ellie's heart sank, but she squeezed Sophia's hand. Then we'll be careful. But I'm not letting you go. Sophia looked at her, her eyes soft but fierce. You're stubborn, you know that? Part of my charm, Ellie said, managing a smile. They fell asleep on the couch, tangled together, the weight of the world momentarily forgotten. But Ellie knew this was only the beginning. The road ahead was uncertain, and the stakes were higher than ever. The mural was nearly finished, a riot of colors that transformed the community center's wall into a beacon of hope. Ellie stood back, paint-splattered and exhausted, admiring the way the abstract shapes seemed to dance under the morning sun. She'd poured everything into it. Her anger, her love, her dreams of a world where she and Sophia could exist without fear. Sophia hadn't been by in days, her texts short and clipped, her schedule consumed by the vandalism case. Ellie tried not to take it personally, but the silence stung. She missed the warmth of Sophia's laugh, the way her eyes crinkled when she teased her. She missed them. On Wednesday, Ellie got a call from Maya. "You hear about the arrests?" Maya asked, her voice buzzing with excitement. Ellie's heart skipped. "What arrests?" "Those guys who trashed the community center. Sophia's team nabbed them last night. It's all over town." Ellie's relief was immediate, but it came with a new kind of worry. She texted Sophia, "Heard you got the bad guys. You okay?" No reply came. Not that day, not the next. By Friday, Ellie was a mess of nerves, her imagination running wild. Was Sophia avoiding her? Was she in trouble? Had something happened? She went to the community center, hoping to catch Sophia there, but instead found a crowd gathered outside. The mural was done, and the center was holding a small unveiling ceremony. Ellie's heart wasn't in it. She scanned the crowd for Sophia, her stomach twisting when she didn't see her. As the director gave a speech about resilience and community, Ellie's phone buzzed. A text from Sophia, "Meet me at the park. 8 p.m. Need to talk." The words felt ominous, but Ellie clung to the hope that Sophia just needed space, not distance. She spent the day distracted, her hands shaking as she touched up the mural's final details. When evening came, she drove to the state park, her heart in her throat. Sophia was waiting by the lake, her silhouette framed against the water's glassy surface. She was in civilian clothes, her arms crossed, her expression unreadable. Ellie parked and walked over, her sneakers sinking into the soft earth. "Hey," Ellie said, her voice tentative. "You okay?" Sophia turned, her eyes tired but warm. "Yeah. Sorry I've been MIA. It's been a lot." Ellie stepped closer, her hands itching to reach out. "You got them, though. The vandals. That's huge." Sophia nodded, but her smile was strained. "We did, but it stirred up some shit. The guys we arrested, they're connected. Local families, big names. The department's getting heat, and I'm caught in the middle." Ellie's stomach sank. "Because you're queer?" Sophia's jaw tightened. "Because I pushed too hard. Asked too many questions. Some of my colleagues, they think I'm making it personal." "Are you?" Ellie asked, her voice soft. Sophia looked at her, her eyes blazing. "Of course I am. That place, the community center, it's one of the few safe spaces we have. And those assholes thought they could scare us out of it." Ellie's heart swelled. She reached for Sophia's hand, lacing their fingers together. "You're not alone in this, you know." Sophia's grip tightened, but her expression was conflicted. "Ellie, I don't know if I can do this." "Not right now." The words hit like a punch. Ellie pulled back, her chest aching. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I'm scared," Sophia admitted, her voice breaking. "I'm scared of losing my job, my place here. I'm scared of what happens if people find out about us. And I'm scared of dragging you into it." Ellie's eyes burned, but she refused to cry. "I'm not scared," she said, her voice fierce. "I've been out since I was 16. I've dealt with the hate, the looks, the whispers. I can handle it. But I can't handle you pushing me away." Sophia's face crumpled, and for the first time, Ellie saw her break. "I don't want to push you away," she said, her voice raw. "But I don't know how to do this. I've never felt like this before." Ellie's heart stopped. "Like what?" Sophia stepped closer, her hands cupping Ellie's face. "Like I'm falling in love with you." The world tilted. Ellie's breath caught, her hands finding Sophia's waist. "Then don't run," she whispered. "Stay. Fight. With me." Sophia kissed her, hard and desperate, the lake lapping softly in the background. It wasn't a promise, not yet, but it was enough. For now. The next week was a whirlwind. Sophia went back to work, her resolve hardened, but the tension in the department was palpable. Ellie threw herself into her art, painting with a ferocity she hadn't felt in years. She started a new piece, a portrait of Sophia, her badge glinting but her eyes soft, a symbol of strength and vulnerability. One night, Sophia showed up at Ellie's door, her face pale. "They suspended me," she said, her voice hollow. Ellie's heart dropped. "What? Why?" "Internal review," Sophia said, stepping inside. "They're saying I overstepped, pushed too hard on the vandalism case. But I know it's because of who I am. Someone saw us at the park." Ellie's blood boiled. "That's bullshit. They can't do that." "They can," Sophia said, sinking onto the couch. "And they might." Ellie sat beside her, her mind racing. "What do we do?" Sophia looked at her, her eyes fierce despite the exhaustion. "We fight. I'm not letting them win." Ellie nodded, her resolve matching Sophia's. "Then we fight together." The suspension hit Sophia like a tidal wave, stripping away the structure she'd built her life around. Ellie watched her struggle, torn between anger at the injustice and a fierce need to protect the woman she was falling for. They spent hours on Ellie's couch, planning their next move, their hands intertwined as if letting go would unravel everything. Sophia's lawyer, a sharp woman from Nashville named Carla, was optimistic but realistic. "It's a small town," she said over coffee at the beanery. "The department's under pressure to look tough on bias. But we've got a case, your record's spotless, Sophia. They'll have a hard time justifying this." Ellie listened, her fingers tapping nervously on the table. She wanted to believe Carla, but the fear in Sophia's eyes was hard to ignore. "What can I do?" Ellie asked, her voice steady despite the storm inside her. Carla glanced at her, appraising. "Keep being visible. Both of you. The more you show this town that you're not hiding, the harder it is for them to paint Sophia as the problem." Ellie nodded, her resolve hardening. She'd never been one to back down, and she wasn't about to start now. That night, she and Sophia attended a community meeting at the center, their first public appearance as a couple. Ellie's heart pounded as they walked in, hand in hand, but Sophia's grip was steady, grounding her. The room was packed, locals, activists, even a few reporters from Nashville. The vandalism case had sparked a broader conversation about hate in Clarksville, and Ellie felt the weight of every stare. Some were curious, some supportive, others hostile. She spotted one of the guys from the open mic night in the back. His eyes narrowed, and her stomach twisted. The meeting was tense but productive. Community members spoke about the need for safe spaces, for acceptance, for change. Ellie stood up, her voice shaking at first but growing stronger. "This center saved me," she said, her eyes finding Sophia's. "It's where I found hope and love. We can't let hate take that away." The room erupted in applause, and Sophia's smile was small but proud. For the first time, Ellie felt like they were building something bigger than themselves. But the victory was short-lived. The next morning, Sophia got a call from her sergeant. "They're pushing for a hearing," she told Ellie, her voice tight. "If I lose, I'm done. No badge, no career." Ellie's heart sank, but she refused to let Sophia see her fear. "You're not gonna lose," she said, pulling Sophia into a hug. "We're in this together." Sophia buried her face in Ellie's shoulder, her voice muffled. "I don't deserve you." "Bullshit," Ellie said, kissing her forehead. "You deserve everything." They spent the next few days preparing for the hearing, gathering character witnesses and evidence of Sophia's exemplary record. Ellie painted furiously, her latest piece, a vibrant mural of two women embracing under a rainbow, taking shape in her studio. She wanted it to be a gift for Sophia, a reminder of what they were fighting for. The night before the hearing, Sophia stayed over, her nerves fraying. They lay in bed, the moonlight streaming through the window, their bodies pressed close. "What if I lose everything?" Sophia whispered, her voice raw. Ellie propped herself up on one elbow, her eyes fierce. "You won't lose me, no matter what happens." Sophia's eyes glistened, and she pulled Ellie into a kiss that felt like a promise. They made love that night, slow and deliberate, every touch a defiance of the world outside. The hearing was held in a sterile county building, the air thick with tension. Ellie sat in the back, her hands clenched, as Sophia stood before a panel of stern-faced officials. Carla argued passionately, presenting letters from the community, records of Sophia's service, even Ellie's mural as evidence of her impact. But the opposition was relentless. A senior officer, a man with a permanent scowl, questioned Sophia's objectivity, citing her involvement with the community center. Ellie's blood boiled. She knew what he was really saying. He didn't trust a queer cop. Sophia held her own, her voice steady as she defended her actions. "I became a cop to protect people," she said. "All people. If that's a problem, then maybe the problem isn't me." Ellie wanted to cheer, but her heart was in her throat. The panel deliberated for hours, and when they finally called Sophia back, Ellie held her breath. "We've decided to reinstate Officer Delgado," the chairwoman said, her voice neutral, "with a formal warning. Any further complaints will result in termination." Ellie exhaled, tears stinging her eyes. It wasn't a full victory, but it was enough. Sophia turned, her eyes finding Ellie's, and the relief in her smile was worth everything. They celebrated that night at the Beanery, surrounded by friends from the community center. Maya toasted to love and justice, and Ellie felt lighter than she had in weeks. But as she watched Sophia laugh, her badge glinting under the lights, she knew the fight wasn't over. Not for them, not for Clarksville. The reinstatement was a victory, but it came with scars. Sophia returned to work under a microscope, her every move scrutinized by a department that didn't fully trust her. Ellie saw the toll it took. The late nights, the forced smiles, the way Sophia's hands trembled when she thought no one was watching. They leaned on each other, their relationship a quiet rebellion against the town's judgment. Ellie's house became their sanctuary, filled with laughter, music, and the smell of paint. Sophia started bringing her camera over, snapping candid shots of Ellie at work, her face smudged with color, her eyes fierce with focus. One evening, as they sat on the porch watching the sunset, Sophia showed Ellie a new photo, a black and white shot of the community center's mural, the colors muted but the emotion raw. "This is what we're fighting for," Sophia said, her voice soft. "This and us." Ellie's heart swelled. She leaned over, kissing Sophia gently. "We're gonna win," she said. "Not just the battles. The whole damn war." But the war was far from over. A week later, Ellie was at the community center, touching up her mural, when she overheard a conversation that made her blood run cold. Two local business owners, their voices low, were talking about taking back the town. "That cop and her artist girlfriend are stirring things up," one said. "We don't need that kind of trouble here." Ellie's hands shook as she gripped her paintbrush. She wanted to confront them, to scream, but she knew it wouldn't help. Instead, she called Sophia, her voice tight as she relayed what she'd heard. Sophia was at the center within minutes, her face grim. "This is bigger than the vandalism," she said, pacing. "There's a group of them, locals, business owners, even some cops. They're organizing, pushing back against anything they see as progressive." Ellie's stomach twisted. "What do we do?" Sophia stopped, her eyes fierce. "We don't back down. We organize too." They spent the next few days rallying support. Ellie reached out to local artists and activists, while Sophia connected with allies in the department. Cops who, like her, wanted change. They planned a community event, a Pride in Clarksville night, to show the town that they weren't going anywhere. The event was held at the community center, the mural glowing under strings of fairy lights. Hundreds showed up, queer kids, allies, families, even a few curious locals who'd never attended before. Ellie emceed, her voice steady despite the butterflies in her stomach. Sophia was there, out of uniform, her camera in hand, capturing every moment. But the night wasn't without tension. A group of protesters gathered across the street, holding signs with hateful slogans. Ellie's heart sank, but Sophia squeezed her hand. "Focus on us," she said. "They don't get to win." The event was a success, filled with music, laughter, and stories of resilience. Ellie debuted her new mural, a vibrant celebration of queer love, and the crowd cheered. Sophia's photos, projected on a screen, told a story of community, of hope, of defiance. As the night wound down, Ellie and Sophia slipped away to the courtyard, needing a moment alone. The air was cool, the stars bright overhead. "We did it," Ellie said, her voice thick with emotion. Sophia pulled her close, her lips brushing Ellie's forehead. "Yeah, we did." But the victory was bittersweet. The next morning, Sophia got a call from Carla. "They're coming for you again," she said. "Another complaint. This time it's about the event." Ellie watched Sophia's face fall, her own anger rising. "They can't keep doing this," she said. "It's harassment." Sophia nodded, but her eyes were distant. "I know, but they're not gonna stop. Not unless we make them." They met with Carla that afternoon, going over their options. The complaint was flimsy, something about inappropriate conduct at a public event, but it was enough to trigger another hearing. Ellie's heart ached for Sophia, who looked more tired than ever. "We need to go public," Ellie said, her voice firm. "Tell our story. Show them we're not the problem." Sophia hesitated, her fear palpable. "That's a big risk, Ellie. For both of us." "I know," Ellie said, taking her hand. "But I'm all in. Are you?" Sophia's eyes searched hers, and slowly, she nodded. "Yeah, I'm in." Going public was terrifying, but Ellie and Sophia knew it was their best shot. They reached out to a Nashville journalist, a queer woman named Lena who'd covered the vandalism case. Lena was eager to tell their story, and within days, she was in Clarksville, interviewing them in Ellie's living room. Ellie spoke first, her voice steady as she described the mural, the community center, the love she'd found with Sophia. Sophia was quieter, her words careful but raw. "I became a cop to serve," she said, her eyes fixed on the camera. "But I'm also a queer woman. I shouldn't have to choose between my badge and who I am." The article dropped a week later, accompanied by Sophia's photos and images of Ellie's mural. It went viral, shared across social media, picked up by national outlets. Support poured in: letters, donations, messages from queer kids who saw themselves in Ellie and Sophia's fight. But so did the hate. Ellie's inbox filled with slurs, threats, demands that they leave town. Sophia's department wasn't thrilled either. Her sergeant called her in, his face red with anger. "You're making us look bad," he said. "This isn't what we signed up for." Sophia stood her ground. "I signed up to protect people," she said. "If that makes you uncomfortable, that's your problem." Ellie was waiting outside when Sophia emerged, her face pale but her eyes blazing. "They're moving up the hearing," she said. "Next week." Ellie pulled her into a hug, her heart pounding. "We've got this," she said. "We're not alone anymore." The community rallied around them. The center organized a march, a show of solidarity before the hearing. Hundreds showed up, carrying signs with slogans like "Love is not a crime" and "Protect our cops." Ellie and Sophia led the march, hand in hand, their faces a mix of fear and defiance. The hearing was a circus. Reporters crowded the county building, cameras flashing as Ellie and Sophia walked in. Carla was a force, dismantling the complaint with precision, calling witnesses who testified to Sophia's character and service. Ellie took the stand, her voice shaking but clear. "Sophia's not just a cop," she said. "She's a hero, and this town is lucky to have her." The panel's decision came quickly this time. The complaint was dismissed. Sophia kept her job, no warning, no strings. The room erupted in cheers, and Ellie threw her arms around Sophia, tears streaming down her face. But the victory came at a cost. The hate didn't stop. Graffiti appeared on Ellie's truck. Anonymous letters arrived at Sophia's apartment. They knew the fight was far from over, but they also knew they were stronger together. That night, they stood in front of Ellie's mural, the colors glowing under the streetlights. "We're gonna be okay," Sophia said, her voice soft but certain. Ellie nodded, her hand finding Sophia's. "Yeah, we are." The weeks after the hearing were a strange mix of triumph and tension. Ellie and Sophia were local heroes to some, pariahs to others. The community center became a hub for activism, hosting workshops, art shows, and support groups. Ellie's murals popped up across town, each one a defiant splash of color. Sophia went back to work, her head held high, but she carried the weight of knowing some colleagues would never accept her. They leaned into their relationship, finding joy in the small moments. Cooking dinner together, dancing to old records in Ellie's living room, stealing kisses under the stars. But the threats lingered, a constant reminder of the world they were up against. One night, Ellie woke to the sound of glass shattering. She bolted upright, her heart racing, and found Sophia already out of bed, her gun drawn. "Stay here," Sophia whispered, her voice calm but firm. Ellie's stomach churned, but she followed Sophia to the living room, where a brick lay on the floor, surrounded by shards of glass. A note was tied to it, the words scrawled in angry red ink, "Leave or else." Sophia's face was a mask of fury and fear. She called it in, her voice steady as she reported the incident, but Ellie saw the tremor in her hands. When the other officers arrived, their sympathy was mixed with suspicion, and Ellie's anger boiled over. "This is bullshit," she said, her voice shaking. "You're treating us like we're the problem." The lead officer, a woman who'd always been kind to Sophia, sighed. "We're doing what we can, Ellie. But you're stirring things up." "Good," Ellie snapped. "Maybe this town needs stirring." Sophia pulled her aside, her eyes pleading. "Let them handle it, please." But Ellie couldn't let it go. She painted a new mural the next day, right on the side of her house. A phoenix rising from flames, its wings rainbow-hued. The message was clear. They weren't backing down. The police investigation into the brick incident went nowhere, but the community rallied again. Neighbors brought food, friends helped clean up the glass, and the center organized a vigil. Ellie and Sophia stood together, their hands clasped, as candles flickered in the night. "I'm scared," Sophia admitted later, her voice barely audible. "Not for me. For you." Ellie's heart ached, but she shook her head. "We're in this together, remember? No matter what." Sophia nodded, pulling Ellie close. "No matter what." Spring came to Clarksville, softening the edges of the town with blooming dogwoods and warm breezes. Ellie and Sophia had weathered the storm, their love stronger for it. The threats hadn't stopped, but they'd learned to live with them, to find joy despite the fear. The community center was thriving, a beacon for queer youth and allies alike. Ellie's murals were everywhere now, each one a testament to resilience. Sophia had been promoted, a quiet acknowledgement of her skill and courage, though she still faced whispers from some colleagues. One evening, they drove out to the lake where they'd shared their first real kiss. The water was calm, reflecting the pinks and purples of the sunset. They sat on a blanket, a picnic spread out before them, Sophia's camera resting beside her. "I was thinking," Sophia said, her voice soft, "about moving in together." Ellie's heart leapt. Yeah, Sophia said, her smile shy. "I want a home with you, a life." Ellie leaned in, kissing her deeply. "I'm in, always." They talked about the future, maybe leaving Clarksville one day, maybe staying to keep fighting. But for now, they had each other, and that was enough. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Sophia pulled out her camera, snapping a photo of Ellie laughing, her hair catching the light. "This," Sophia said, her voice thick with emotion, "this is what I want to remember." Ellie looked at her, her heart full. "We're gonna make a lot more memories, Officer Delgado." Sophia laughed, pulling her close. "Damn right we are." Their love wasn't a solution to the world's problems, but it was a start, a spark, a defiance. And in that quiet moment by the lake, with the stars coming out overhead, Ellie knew they'd keep fighting. For themselves, for their community, for a world where love could win.